Welcome to episode 4 of Let's Talk HBCUs. Of course, we've got the John Merritt Classic Labor Day weekend. North Carolina A&T comes to town to take on the TSU Tigers. Definitely going to be a lot of fun, a lot of energy around Nissan Stadium here in Nashville. And I brought on someone to kind of, as we talk about this matchup, that would kind of give us an insight in terms of North Carolina A&T and what the Aggies got going on. I just want to introduce Mr. Samaj Marsh. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? How you doing, man? It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you kind of give them the rundown of your expertise of North Carolina A&T if they're not familiar?
Well, I'm the founder of a fan site called BlueDeathValley.com. We've been operating for, I think this is our 20th year we're going on. And I got a lot of help from my close buddy, Craig Turner. He's kind of like the local neighborhood football guru. He knows everything about A&T. He's been covering it since the 70s. And then I also got a partner on our podcast, Doug Brown, who's a former player. So the three of us, we do during the season, we do a weekly podcast on Wednesday nights called Inside the Valley, and we just do a deep dive into everything A&T. We usually try to get a guest every so often. Then we talk about the game and do a preview of the upcoming matchup. Like we just did a show Wednesday night. We talked about this game coming up on Saturday at Nissan Stadium. So everybody in Aggie land is super excited. Probably similar to Tennessee State's fan base, there's a lot of uncertainty. We have a new coach that came in December, a lot of new faces on the field, some transfers, and some we had some injuries at the wrong time. So we have, we can talk about the position battles, but it's going to, like I say, there's so much uncertainty, but we're excited.
Definitely got a lot of excitement. And like you mentioned, the new coaching staff with North Carolina A&T, definitely a new coaching staff with the TSU Tigers. Of course, Eddie George leaving to become the head coach of Bowling Green State University, which, for those that aren't aware, Bowling Green State University is in Ohio, not in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Definitely, went out on the high note, took the TSU Tigers to the playoffs first time in a long time, almost 25 years. First time they won an OVC title or a piece of an OVC title since the 1990s as well. And just the record was one of the best records they've had in a long time also. So, with everything that he achieved, he definitely, earned whatever right he felt to take the next step in his coaching journey and head on to Bowling Green State University, which left the door open for the new head coach that is here with the TSU Tigers here now with Reggie Barlow, who is a former Jacksonville Jaguar return man. He is also the former head coach of the UFL Washington team as well. So, he brought his own staff here pretty much, including some guys that actually either played here or were coaching here, in offensive coordinator Shannon Harris, and the offensive line coach as well actually is a former coach with TSU that actually put some players in the NFL. So definitely an interesting dynamic with both teams having brand new coaches, both teams having, a lot of different players as well, and, a lot of those different things. Now, what's one of the biggest position battles that's going on with North Carolina A&T this period leading up to the first game?
Well, definitely it will be quarterback, and I think that's kind of mirroring what I heard in the press conference from Reggie Barlow. I think you guys have Tennessee State. I think they have a similar quarterback battle, and I guess all the fans are just going to have to come out at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time and find out who's going to be the guy who runs out in the field. So for us, it's probably going to be between redshirt freshman 6'3" guy by the name of Braxton Thomas, and then late in the offseason we got a transfer from the University of Maryland about 5'10", 5'11" guy by the name of Champ Long. And both of those gentlemen have been kind of split in the first team reps. I would say most observers probably think that Champ Long has probably had the best camp, slightly, but Braxton Thomas, physically, I always tell people, if there was an APB out by the police and they would say, we got a suspect who looks like a college quarterback, they're going to arrest Braxton Thomas, right? He fits the bill what you think a college quarterback should look like. And he got in limited snaps last year, mostly due to injury. So he probably got about 2.5 games under his belt. Didn't burn his red shirt, but he did get some actual game experience. And the crazy thing is, I would say the presumed starter going into this year was a guy by the name of Kevin White. And he's a 5'11", 6-foot dynamo, probably one of the fastest players in FCS football. And this is going to be his third year here, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So going into the spring, he was probably going to be the starter, but he ended up breaking his leg in a freak accident the last day right before the spring game. So most people thought he was going to be done for the year, but he has this incredible healing power, obviously, because he's back in practice. I'm not sure if he's fully cleared, but he's close to being cleared. And in the depth chart that they passed out at the press conference on Monday, he was listed as one of the guys who may be a starter. There was like 3 guys listed as potential starters. So we'll see. Between Braxton Thomas, Champ Long, and the dark horse would be KJ White, Kevin White.
Okay. All right. Well, Tennessee State, you've got 2 newcomers, and definitely one of them, you recognize the last name. Jonathan Palmer is the guy I'm talking about that everyone recognizes the last name. Of course, he is the nephew of Carson Palmer, former NFL quarterback, and he's 6'3", about 207, redshirt freshman, and transfer from Gardner-Webb. So he's a guy, he definitely throws a good deep ball. I've seen a few of those. So it's definitely an interest there in terms of, maybe more of a pro-style quarterback. He fits that mold. Then you also have another guy that's Byron McNair, who is a 6 foot, about 180-pound guy from Kansas Wesleyan, actually. So I thought that was a very interesting, pickup as well. So these 2 guys pretty much he's more of an athletic quarterback and move around a little bit, things like that. These 2 guys have been the main 2 guys competing for that starting quarterback position. If I had to guess which one it would be, I would say it probably would be Jonathan Palmer. But do I think we'll see both of these quarterbacks? More than likely. So, definitely is going to be interesting just to see which one kind of separates themselves, because I know with any team, you don't want to step in there and have 2 quarterbacks. You want to eventually have one quarterback, kind of like one band, one sound. You want to have one quarterback that runs the team, and so the team can get a rhythm with them. So it'll be interesting just to see how that happens. Another thing I want to point out is that
go ahead. One question: Did Palmer, when he transferred from Gardner-Webb, did he do that with Eddie George, still the head coach, or is he a Barlow recruit?
I believe he's a Barlow recruit. Recruit. I could be wrong, but I believe he's a Barlow recruit. Now, there's a lot of
the reason I asked that is because that would probably determine, a lot of things too. If Barlow brought him in, then that's kind of like his first round draft pick. So he'll probably be wanting to show that investment was justified.
Yeah, definitely. And I also wanted to mention that in coming back to Nissan Stadium, there's one guy that's on the staff for the TSU Tigers that's coming back to Nissan Stadium, where a lot of people remember him in the 2000s. That would be Greg Williams. Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator for the TSU Tigers. Of course, plenty of people remember him from the Saints and Bounty Gate and all those different things. And remember him from being the coach for the Bills and all these defensive coordinator places that he's been. And he's definitely going to bring a lot of pressure. So whoever is that quarterback for the Aggies definitely is going to see a guy that's going to bring a lot of pressure to you from all different angles. Who knows? He may line up in the old 46 defense that Jeff Fisher liked to run. So you never know when it comes to Greg Williams and just the aggressiveness there. So that'll be, I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch, especially with, a lot of guys that are brand new to the TSU team, because of, a lot of guys, when their coach leaves, they leave too, whether it be to go with their coach or whether it be to go to a different program. So it's going to be a lot of guys' names that we have not heard when it comes to Tennessee State defensively. Now, defensively, what does it look like for the North Carolina A&T Aggies when it comes to their kind of preference and how they want to play, or just style in general?
Well, honestly, we didn't have a lot of places to go but up. So we finished pretty much dead last in our conference, Coastal Athletic Association, in pretty much every defensive statistical category. We were horrible against the run, and we probably were just as bad against the pass, but most teams didn't have to pass against us because they could run the ball down our throat. And a lot of that was due to just a lack of size that we had in the middle. Our front seven, especially our D tackles and our inside linebackers, were all undersized, and they just didn't hold up as the season went on. We made a change at the coaching staff. We replaced Vincent Brown after 2 years. He won 2 games in 2 years, and I guess that was just too much to handle. So we brought back our former assistant, longtime assistant, Sean Gibbs, who was doing some good things at Fort Valley State, brought him back. So he was a running back associate head coach here previously, and now he's the head man. And he's brought his defensive coordinator from Fort Valley State, Denzel Jones, former A&T linebacker, and he also pulled a couple guys from our arch rival North Carolina Central. So in the secondary, we have Tony McRae, former NFL guy, great Aggie defensive back in his heyday. He's coaching our secondary. And then we have Courtney Cord. That's the big name. We have Courtney Cord, who was the defensive coordinator at Central last year. And now he's just going to be overseeing the defensive line and also serving as associate head coach. So I think our coaching staff is going to be probably the major impetus for us getting better. I think size-wise, and I think we made a concerted effort to get bigger at the linebacker position, especially. We're still small in the interior defense, and we still are lacking a lot of depth. So if we get some sprained ankles, that thing goes south real quick, right? Everybody has got to stay healthy in the starting lineup. But I think just scheme-wise, we'll be a lot better, and the effort's going to be because Sean Gibbs and Denzel Jones and Courtney Cord won't accept anything else. I think the effort's going to be 100% better than it was last year.
Now, I will say that I didn't mention that, the Titans, good gracious. TSU Tigers, they actually have a Super Bowl winning safety on their roster as well in terms of coaches. And Dexter Jackson. Dexter Jackson actually is the safeties coach, which I found that very interesting. I was like, man, okay. I remember, the funny thing is I actually covered a Super Bowl in Minneapolis. So I actually met Dexter Jackson. He probably will never remember this, but I actually met him at the Taste of the NFL event in St. Paul. Actually, he was in St. Paul. When he in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and they're literally cities right by each other. So it's going to be interesting. They're actually learning from an NFL safety there, and just the pieces that they have. I mean, I couldn't think of the O-line coach earlier. His name is Russ Ehrenfield, and he actually has produced some NFL linemen. So it's going to be interesting just to see that part. But getting back to the defense, it's just going to be interesting just to see, how everything goes. And the defenses in both sides, or I expect them to be very aggressive with these offenses that are still trying to find themselves early on in the season. Would you say that's probably going to be the kind of tenure of what we're going to see in this game?
I think both teams' quarterbacks, or quarterbacks plural, how many play, are going to have to stand up to pressure. There's going to be, I think that's going to be the one constant on both sides of the field. TSU and A&T are going to be trying to bring pressure to the opposing quarterback. There's going to be some exotic blitzes. I think whoever can handle that adversity, that pressure the best, will obviously, have the advantage. And I think really, if you want to, say what is going to be the main intangible that decides the victor on this Saturday, I just want to see. I think it's going to be which coaching staff can get their troops organized the best. Because like you say, we both know there's plenty of uncertainty, a lot of moving parts. You have spring camp, you have a limited amount of fall camp practices, and then you're thrown into it. And I know A&T, we don't have a whole bunch of veterans to rely on. I think TSU is kind of the same boat. So it's young people, new faces. If whoever can get these guys to move, in one direction the quickest, that's going to be the winner, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, and definitely. I didn't mention another hit to the TSU Tigers. They had their All-American corner transfer out 2 weeks, but 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I saw Cobbs. That. Yeah, and we lost the All-American corner to the transfer portal. Karan Prunty, I believe he's at Wake Forest now. So and you're not gonna get any sympathy from us as far as losses and like saying I think honestly, I think pretty much all of the FCS teams are in that same boat where at the end of the year you're just kind of waiting to see who gets poached by the big boys. You can't get comfortable with any of your star talent because obviously if big bank takes little bank, we can't play that game. So it's right. That's just the new reality. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering where he transferred to. I don't know where he transferred to. I'm looking around trying to find out. But he came to
last I heard he was he just entered the portal, and I think I want to say he might have to sit this year out, right? Because of the way he exited so late.
Yeah, he may have to. He may have to when it comes to that.
Yeah.
He has 3 years of eligibility left. I know that.
Right.
So,
but I guess you don't want to use any of the Tennessee State.
I just wondered what happened in that situation and where he ended up hitting the portal. But he actually was there, and I don't know. It's just interesting. It's just interesting that he's hitting the portal so late in the game. I wonder what happened.
Yeah.
But now offensively, looking at the Tennessee State Tigers, you have a lot of plethora of weapons that aren't there anymore. Karate Brinson is actually at Wake Forest as well, as you mentioned, Wake Forest. He actually was their star wide receiver last year, went over 1,000 yards. So he's there at Wake Forest.
So Wake Forest they just went around and stole everybody. It is like a grocery aisle. They just went down. I think one of these, one of that. So yeah, that's and when you got money, when you got NIL money, you can do that.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, they had a plethora of running backs. Tennessee State did. A lot of them aren't there this year. Just a lot of different guys that aren't there. So it's going to be interesting to see what playmakers step up and what playmakers actually stand out. Because, of course, I think Will Hoyt is back with Tennessee State University. He originally was at Oregon. Then he came here. I think he went to FAMU and then came back. I'm not for sure how all that worked. But anyway, I know he's back here at Tennessee State University. I just don't know necessarily eligibility-wise where he is. I have no idea. But I think he's definitely back there. And there's somebody else I think is back. But just if he's able to play, just judging by his body type, speed, size, that guy can be a problem. He can be a problem for anybody, especially, he's a big guy. And he's from here, actually. He's actually from the Nashville area, went to Franklin Road Academy. So, yeah, he's a guy that could be a problem. Do you see any guys maybe offensively, or can you think of any guys offensively that may be a problem when it comes to North Carolina A&T and just what they have? Because I know a lot of guys, of course, leaving and, hitting the transfer portal and things like that. But, I just was interested to see if there's anybody there that you could think of that could be, somebody to keep their eye on offensively.
Well, we have a stable of talented running backs. I believe the the two guys who listed on the depth chart on the, the initial game notes were a senior man, Wesley Graves from Danville, Virginia, and he's kind of like the gentleman you just described. He's a bruiser, right? He's he has quick feet, but he's like a bowling ball. He likes to get through that hole and find a linebacker to ram into. That's almost his MO. And so if he's Thunder, then the Lightning would be a guy by the name of Shameik Blizzard. And he's been here for a couple of years. And he's always kind of flashed a little bit. He had some nice runs towards the end of last year. And he's probably more quick than he is fast, but he can kind of explode, and he might be that home run hitter that A&T has been kind of waiting for. Outside those two, we've got a gentleman by the name of Daniel Coles, who's I think a redshirt freshman this year. And then we have a track star, son of a former A&T great running back. His name is Jalen Hicks. His dad played here in the early 2000s, Maurice Hicks, and he was one of the leading rushers all-time leading rushers when he graduated. His dad actually owns the NCAA record for the most yards in a single game for Division I. That was 437. He had that in 2001 against Morgan State, and we lost that game actually. But
lost it. He ran for 430 some yards.
We lost by double digits, and he didn't even play most of the fourth quarter because he had a thigh injury. So, so it was one of those crazy, this unbelievable games. But his son is a two-sport athlete at A&T. He was on the 4x400 relay team that went to Oregon for the NCAA championship, and his son's a running back, but he's 6'3", about 195, 200 pounds. He doesn't look like the traditional running back, but if he gets in the open field, you can cancel Christmas. So we have a lot of running talent on that team. It's just outside of Wesley Graves is so green and inexperienced. And, you really don't know what you have when you have that many young players.
Right. I mean, yeah, I totally get it. It's going to be just an interesting game. I'll be there on site, so I'll be actually there covering the game. Get to talk to players, get down on the field, things like that. So it'll be fun checking it out, talking, it's just getting back to playing college football or watching college football. I mean, it seems like it's been gone for so long, and now it's back, and you get to hear the band out there playing, the fans out there. They're going to have fans where they can sit on both sides of the stadium a little bit more this year at Nissan Stadium. So in the past, it's been like, fans on one side of the field, and that's pretty much it. But now they're going to try to have more fans around both sides of the field, a little bit more, not all the way quite around it. So that'll be an interesting look to see. And just the feel of Nissan Stadium and just the crowd and all those different things with the new head coach is going to be very, very interesting to watch, and just to see how many people come out to the games. Because, I don't know if you know, but the Nissan Stadium and the new Nissan Stadium are right by each other. So the new Nissan Stadium that the Tennessee Titans are building is literally right next door to the old Nissan Stadium that they're currently still playing in. So there isn't a parking lot over there or anything of that nature.
So logistically, it's going to be an issue to get in and out.
So it'll be basically, that'll be, not really too many places to sit out there and tailgate as much, but hopefully there'll be a ton of people in the game that, the kids can hear them, and people will come into the game instead of actually tailgating the entire game. So that's the hope for a lot of the TSU administration, that more fans will come into the game and more kids will be able to hear the fans cheering them and rooting them on, kind of like they did back in the early 2000s when I was playing against TSU. I actually went to UT Martin. But I am from Nashville, and I'm definitely be a fool not to recognize that, when Nashville, especially Black Nashville, is doing well, That's Tennessee State is also doing well at the same time. So Tennessee State is very much the heartbeat of Black Nashville, in my opinion. So, at
And
that point,
let me ask you this: how far is the campus from Nissan Stadium?
it's not a big drive, a long drive, maybe like 10 minutes.
Okay.
But but just that's a big thing too. A lot of people want them to be back on campus. But like I explained, the biggest thing there is getting Hale Stadium, aka the Hole, up to snuff to where they can play there. And right now it's not up to snuff. You've got the broadcast booth, the media area where it used to be, it isn't up to snuff. They got to fix up the stands, the state, the football field, and of course the visiting side as well. Of course, you can do that in stages and eventually make that happen. But as of right now, I see that happening anytime soon? I don't right now. Maybe a few guest appearances at the Hole, but that would be after still some improvements being made there. But one thing that a lot of people don't also miss too is you'll have less room to tailgate if you are back on campus. So if you eventually you're going to have less room, you're going to have less room to tailgate, and then that'll be a complaint. So either way it goes, it's almost like a complaint either way.
Yeah. And like I say, this is Labor Day weekend, and normally A&T fans travel pretty good on Labor Day. There's been a lot of people excited about this upcoming season in general, but this game in particular, for some reason, we don't play Tennessee State, every year, but in the past when we played them, it's always been like a classic, Circle City and Indianapolis, or it's been a marquee match. Like the last time we've been in Nissan Stadium, we faced Tennessee State in 1999 in the first round of playoffs, and that was probably one of the greatest upsets in our school history, where we beat undefeated #1 ranked Tennessee State team. I think L.C. Cole was the legendary head coach back then.
Leon Murray, I think, was quarterback in that team.
Murray, y'all had Avion Black, who was the kick returner, and he ran back, I think, one of the opening or early kick returns for a touchdown. But that was a game that really probably was the start of a golden era for A&T football. We always kind of think back to that when we go through our memory of trip down memory lanes. So coming back to the scene of crime, if you will, that's going to be kind of symbolic and cool for us, especially as we try to get this whole 2 wins and 2 losses out of our mouth. This is kind of a kind of restore to glory type of effort by Sean Gibbs leading that, and all the A&T people rallying behind him. So I think it should be a good turnout. I hear a lot of people saying they're gonna come down and get tickets for that.
Well, we'll say this, it's Labor Day weekend. It's going to be really good weather. It's in the 80s. It's not going to be too hot, not going to be too cold. And it's a lot of activities going on when it comes to Tennessee State, especially starting tonight. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of things for people to do, especially, around the football game as well. So, I want to thank you, Samaj Marsh, for joining me on this episode, kind of giving a little bit more insight into North Carolina A&T. Can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and also about the website, of course, as well?
Yep. So it's bluedeathvalley.com. Just like Death Valley, just put a blue in front of it. And we're on most of the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we just have a good time. Bunch of diehard A&T fans, and we have a message board that's pretty active, where if you want to go there and talk in real time to some other A&T supporters, or just HBCU fans in general, that's a good place to do that. We have a lot of spirited conversations about this game and anything closely related to A&T and HBCU athletics. So it's a cool place to hang out. But yeah, man, I thank you so much for bringing me on here. I definitely will keep track of your platform, and hopefully it'll be a good game this weekend.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. I actually am going to be there, so I'll have a lot of live footage. Probably have some game footage. Probably have some coaching footage after the game as well.
Okay.
So definitely you'll
Yeah.
be asking questions at the press conferences for sure.
Good
So
deal. Good deal.
yes, sir. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Of course, my name is Mike Patton. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter. I don't think I'll call it X. Reason why I won't call it X is because the only two X's I recognize is DMX and Malcolm X. So you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. Find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE _general_MP. And you can also find Let's Talk HBCUs on YouTube at the Mike Patton Network. For my co-host, Scott Wallace, wasn't able to make this episode, but hey, he'll be back for the next one. We're out. Let's Talk HBCUs, episode 4 in the books. Peace.